Property rights. Hey, you own your home, but how extensive are your property rights? And what about that strip between the sidewalk and the street? What if the city requires you to mow that? Can they require you to mow that? Well, that takes us to this week's case. It involves a real man, David Schumacher, lived in a city of Howell, Michigan. And there, the city had an ordinance requiring that a homeowner mow that strip between the sidewalk and the street. Well, David wasn't happy with what the city was doing because they'd taken a large maple tree out of that strip and they planted a bunch of saplings, and he said, I don't like this. I'm not going to mow. I'm not going to mow. Not going to mow that strip anymore. City said, you got to mow that. They gave him notice. They gave him all kinds of notice. They sent various hangers that were placed on his door, those little notices that are put on doorknobs. They also attempted to contact him. They spoke with his daughter. They also spoke with him personally and advised him he better mow the lawn. Well, he said, basically, no, I'm not going to do it. And he didn't. Then the city fined him $600. Well, he was ticked off. He was really ticked off. So he brought a federal court action contending that his basic constitutional rights were violated on a number of bases. Among them, he said, one, I wasn't given proper notice. Even though I was told I needed to mow it, I wasn't told what the fine would be if I did not mow it. And two, this is a fundamental right. The city is attempting to have me do their work, maintaining that strip of property, which I think belongs to the city, and therefore I should not have to have that obligation. On the other side, the city said, wait a second, no, 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 no. This is an ordinance. It's the kind of ordinance that exists in the majority of cities in this country. And additionally, we had given him notice. We'd given him notice. We'd put those hangers on his door. We'd talked to him. He had notice. Well, the case went to trial, went to a federal court. There, the federal judge heard the two arguments, the variety of arguments on both sides, and the judge came away saying, hey, David, you and your attorney are right. You and your attorney are right. There was a violation here. You weren't given proper notice. That is a fundamental right, and the city owns that area, and they're requiring you to maintain it. Well, the city wasn't happy. The city took it up on appeal, went up on appeal to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and there the court heard the arguments, once again considered these arguments, and there the court, in a 2-1 decision, came away and said, city, you are right. You are right. In this instance, what we find is that the notice that was given him was a proper notice. Now, granted, it didn't tell him what fine he would have to pay. Was a little defective in that regard, but we still found that to be proper notice. Additionally, we find that that strip of property there actually belongs to David Schumacher. It's part of his deed. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but many deeds provide that the property line for homes actually runs to the middle of the street, and that is an easement that the city or the county has for the street and for the sidewalk. Some instances, there's actually a dedication of the street. Well, anyway, long story short, in this instance, found that that property belonged to David, and found that the ordinance was something the city could do in order to maintain uniformity in the way in which the city looked. And accordingly, at the end of the day, they said, David, you owe $600. And that's the end of the case. So what did we learn from this? We learned from this a couple of things. That ordinances that require citizens, homeowners, to maintain the property that is actually being used to some extent by the city, such as sidewalks, shoveling sidewalks in some instances, actually, in this instance, the court found to be very valid, did not find there to be a violation of the fundamental right to refuse to do something that the city wanted you to do without compensation. And that in this instance, we found that there had been proper notice given, even though he wasn't told what the actual fine would be if he failed to comply. Okay, we bring you this case, as we bring you cases every week, so you understand how the law works. I'm David Allen.